Josh McCray commits to Georgia. Victor Singleton decides to flip to Texas A&M. And what's this talk about Luke Altmyer to Tennessee? Locked on Illini. Let's go.
You are Locked on Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome all to another edition of Locked on Illini. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Verma. You can find me on all your favorite social medias. Do a simple search for Locked on Illini on whichever social media you use, or just find me at the Sunny B. Or if you want to have online discourse all day, every day, Illini, everything, find the link to the Discord in the description. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. Illinois football took some hits this week, and I know some of you are feeling a little discouraged. First four-star cornerback Victor Singleton, arguably the crown jewel of Illinois' 2026 class, flipped his commitment on Saturday night to Texas A&M. Then news dropped that Josh McCray, the Citrus Bowl MVP and one of the faces of Brett Bielema's rebuild, is transferring to Georgia. And now there's smoke around Luke Altmyer and Tennessee. No confirmation yet, but enough chatter that it's worth bringing up. Now, look, that's not the kind of week you want to have in the spring window, but let's take a step back and let's break all of this down. Let's start with Victor Singleton, because this is the one I think that stings a lot, and for good reason. This was the top 60 national prospect, the number 5 ranked cornerback in the class of 2026, and one of the highest rated defensive commitments in Illinois history. And the Illini beat out the likes of Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, and Texas A&M to land him back in February. Now, let's pause there. That alone says how far Illinois has come, because not long ago, Illinois wasn't even in the conversation with those schools for the kids at that level, let alone winning those battles. And they didn't get lucky here. This was all relationship building. Corey Parker, Illinois' defensive back coach, offered Singleton back when he was at Toledo. That long-term connection helped land the commitment, and Illinois sold him on the whole development pipeline. Think about the corners that have come through Champaign. Devin Witherspoon, Quan Martin, Tony Adams, all NFL-type guys. The proof of concept was there. But then Texas A&M came back. And this time, they came with the kind of resources and NIL backing that a few programs can match. And now, yeah, sure, Illinois is going to fall a little bit in the recruiting rankings, but that's not really what hurts here. It's the opportunity. With Xavier Scott and Torrey Cox Jr. leaving after the season, Singleton would have had a very real shot to come in and compete early. He wasn't just a flashy commit, he was a future contributor, maybe an immediate contributor. So yeah, this one hurts. But let's zoom out for a second. He didn't flip to Indiana. He didn't flip to Central Michigan. He didn't flip to Purdue. He flipped to Texas A&M, a team that finished top 5 in recruiting nearly every year, with facilities that would compare with NFL training centers. That means Illinois didn't lose him because the vision wasn't strong. They lost him because they're now operating in a tier of recruiting where sharks swim. And that's not a bad thing. Now, again, this may sound like copium, and I can understand if that's what you're going to call me out for in the comment section. But Victor Singleton seems like the type of player where, quite honestly, I'll be shocked if he does end up at Texas A&M. He does seem to really be enjoying this whole recruitment process. And I would not be shocked if all of a sudden he ends up at Ohio State, like long rumored, or Michigan, like long rumored. He may just be going on this little promo of jumping from school to school just to kind of build his name. But if you took a look at what Aaron Henry's post was on social media, he essentially said to Victor, "I'm not mad at you." And the reason being is this is the type of recruitment that Illinois can win eventually. If things don't work out at Texas A&M or Michigan or wherever he ends up going, keep in mind, those are blue blood schools. Getting top 5, top 4. Look, Victor could have been the highest ranked recruit at Illinois, but he's going to be number 5, 6, 10 at some of these other blue bloods. And so if he can't make that jump over some of the talent ahead of him, and he's in the portal next year or 2 years from now, he's going to remember this relationship that he built with the Illini coaches. Just something to keep in mind, that just because Illinois didn't win now does not mean that they won't ultimately win. Now let's talk about Josh McCray. This one hit a little different. This is a guy who committed as part of Bielema's first class. He was the tone setter, a big bruising SEC style back who made his mark as a true freshman. Then injuries hit, and honestly, some fans wondered if he'd ever get back to form. Then came the 2024 season. He bounced back, put up 600-plus yards, scored 10 touchdowns, capped it all by winning Citrus Bowl MVP, 2 touchdowns, and over 100 yards in a huge win over South Carolina. Now, he's transferring to Georgia. I want you to let that sink in. The Georgia Bulldogs, back-to-back national champions in 2021 and 22, arguably the most loaded roster in the entire country. And they saw Josh McCray and said, yep, we want that guy. That is incredible validation of what Illinois is doing in its strength program, in its offensive line development, and in Bielema's ability to get guys back to form. And now we get these Luke Altmyer. And again, let me be clear. This is all just rumors. But there's Luke Altmyer to Tennessee rumors. It's out there. And we're talking Tennessee here, another SEC team, another national brand, another high-powered offense that saw a guy Illinois was developing and said, hey, he might fit here. Whether it happens or not, it's the pattern that matters. Illinois isn't losing depth pieces. They're not losing guys because they weren't playing. They're losing guys that have already produced, and now the big brands are circling back to cash in. This is what happens when you level up. Look, gun to my head at this point, of course, I don't think Luke is going anywhere. It really seems that he's bought into the system. And if you look at every single coach's interview that's been happening over the past couple of weeks, they talk so incredibly highly of Luke and how he's an incredible leader in that locker room. So I don't think he's going. But at this point, in this day of college sports, would anything really surprise you? But Bret Bielema at this point has built a program into something worth poaching from. And that's the point of this segment. Think about that. 5 years ago, Illinois couldn't hold on to guys transferring to Rice. Now they're being courted by Georgia, Texas A&M, and Tennessee. And that tells you two things. Illinois is recruiting and developing at a national respected level. And two, the rest of college football has taken notice. But it also means the next phase is here, and that phase is retention. You want to keep your Josh McCrays, your Victor Singletons, your Luke Altmyers? You've got to have the resources. You've got to have NIL support, and you've got to have a fan base that steps up and builds a fence around this thing. So yeah, losing Victor Singleton is a punch to the gut. Losing Josh McCray is surreal. And if Altmyer leaves, again, I don't think he's leaving, but if he does, that's a whole different conversation. But I'll say it again. This is what it looks like when you matter. Illinois football is developing guys that the big dogs want. And while it's frustrating to lose some of these battles, it means Bielema and this program are in the fight. And that is something to be proud of. What do you guys think? Am I being a little too optimistic here? Do you feel like you've entered the spin zone with some of the words I'm saying? Look, I'm not saying losing Victor Singleton or Josh McCray or the potential of losing Luke Altmyer is in any sort of way a good thing. But in some sort of way, it kind of is a good thing. It just continues to show and confirm what I've been saying on the show since the inception of the show, is that Bret Bielema has honestly, legitimately turned things around. And we don't like it when our best players are being rumored to go on to play for other big-time programs. But this is also the reality. Would you rather be in this spot? Or would you rather be hopeful to win 5 or just praying to make a bowl game and not really having the type of talent that other big dogs would even be interested in? Honestly, I like the situation now, even if I have to deal with this sort of stress. Let me know in the comment section what are your thoughts. How bummed out are you about losing Victor Singleton? Do you think this was ever really a serious commitment on Victor's behalf? Do you think there's a chance he might end up with the Illini down the road. What about Josh McCray? The fact that he went to Georgia, to me, kind of validates two things. That A, as I mentioned earlier, Brett Bielema is very good at developing running backs. And B, my first suspicion that he was probably leaving for one final bag, I think that just about confirms it. And Luke Altmyer to Tennessee. Any chance of that happening? Can you ever say no for sure? I'm curious on your guys' thoughts. Let me know. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with the complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always get to talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. And welcome back to Locked On Illini. If you haven't already, hit that like button on this video. I really do appreciate every single time you guys do. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, as of this recording, we're 23 subs away from 3,000 on YouTube. An incredible number. The fact that we might hit this number before the 1-year anniversary of the show even, which is coming up in mid-May, it just shows the incredible amount of support I have from this community. And I just want you to know it motivates me to continue to produce content each and every day right here on this channel, absolutely free. So again, absolutely free. The only thing I ask for you is if you can hit that like button and make sure you're subscribing. You know what? Share to your old buddies who also might be fans of the Illini. If you're a fan of the Illini, obviously right now, most of the conversation and the waiting game, and I do mean waiting game, comes with the basketball team. A lot of folks right now during this transfer portal are wondering when the other shoe is going to drop. You know, I wish I had more of a concrete update. I let the Discord know over the weekend that, by the way, the link to the Discord is in the description, that I fully expected a Adam Miller decision by the end of the weekend. I'll be honest, hand up, I forgot it was Easter and there was not much when it comes to basketball movement going around on Sunday anyway, so I'm just going to give myself that excuse and stretch it from 48 hours to 72 hours. So who knows? By the time you're listening to this on your favorite audio podcast, or you're watching this on YouTube, an Adam Miller decision may have already happened. I think that's imminent at this point. Again, even I say this, lightheartedly. If it doesn't happen on Monday, it should happen on Tuesday or Wednesday. This one at this point is nearing the end, the final run. Do I think he's going to be coming an Illini? I think if it was up to him, yes. I think he would like to close out that story with the team that he started college basketball with the hometown team. I don't know if he's the guy who's going to ultimately decide on his next destination. I brought up Nick Irvin's name about possibly coaching at Illinois. Obviously, I don't think that was received very well by a lot of people. And now I think Nick Irvin or maybe the family in itself, who have a lot of influence on Adam, are basically continuing to go out and search out the top dollar. And I know this is going to start this narrative again, which I think is kind of silly in the comment section about Illinois being broke. Guys, Illinois is not broke. They're being more careful about the money that they spend, but I do think they're going to be selectively aggressive. Adam Miller is a very good, solid basketball player. And when there was news about him coming to the Illini, I got excited with the idea that he'd be a part of a guard rotation. Maybe the sixth man, maybe the seventh man off the bench. Now we're entering territories where Adam's getting offers for $1.5 million. At $1.5 million, okay, fine. He's going to be your starting two guard. Is that something you're comfortable with? Do you think Adam Miller, take a look at his track history and his entire career of college basketball, do you think that's worthy of being a starting shooting guard for the expectations that you have for Illinois? And if the answer is no, then can you be all that upset if Illinois and Brad Underwood essentially agree with you and decide not to pay $1.5 million? I do think Illinois has made a very competitive offer. And again, I do think that if it was up to Adam, he would have already come back to Illinois by now. But at the same time, because he hasn't, doesn't mean that Illinois is out. I do think that if Illinois can keep it competitive enough, we'll see. The other thing is, how long is Illinois willing to wait this out before they seek out other options? You know what? I don't even like the way I phrase that. Of course, they're already back channeling to other options. But how long, with the history that they have with the Irvins, are they going to let themselves continue to be strung along in this whole entire process? I don't imagine this lasting very long. Again, I would fully expect a commitment on the Miller situation, one way or the other, to be resolved very early in the week. The next target is Andrej Stojakovic. This is one where I still feel, I mentioned earlier, I think Illinois is going to be very selectively aggressive, and I think this is one of those commitments. The fact is, since Andrej decided to go into the transfer portal, it was rumored Illinois. And sure, other teams have popped up here and there. I've heard Duke. I think I've even heard Kentucky. No other team has really jumped out at you saying, hey, this team is taking the lead. And that's usually, again, I say usually, a pretty good sign. What's Andrej waiting on? I don't know. But from the information I got is he should decide one way or the other also by the end of this week. Now, again, the end of this week. It's going to feel like 2 weeks. It could feel like 4 weeks. But again, this is one of those recruitments, like unlike Andre Miller, where I don't think they're willing to go above a certain price threshold. I do think that they see Andrej as a guy who they will spend a decent percentage of their remaining allotment of NIL funds on. Now, whether he deserves it or not, who knows? That's up to you guys. I've given my opinion. My opinion is I really like Stojakovic, and I think he can be the best player on a basketball team. I just don't know if he can be the best player on a Big Ten championship team. And so can you get another player along with Andrej? You know, what if you're able to get Andrej to settle for $2 million, and then all of a sudden, do you have enough to re-enter the conversation with a guy like Dame Sarr? Dame at this point looks like he's kind of priced himself out to the point where he's maybe going to an Oregon or a USC, because it really does look like Brad, you know, and again, I talked about this. I would have liked Dame Sarr, but Brad doesn't want to spend the biggest portion of his NIL on a freshman again. I just don't know if that is a championship winning game plan. In particular, because Dame Sarr is a good basketball player, but we don't even know if he's going to be the next Kasparis or Will Riley, much less Cooper Flagg. If you would spend that money on Cooper Flagg, Dame Sarr, while very talented, does have some kinks in his game that need to be ironed out. I will say my panic level when it comes to this basketball team right now is still at maybe 4 out of 10. This is just how Brad and Orlando Antigua, this is how they operate. They, in particular, lately, if you take a look, my show here is absolutely free, right? It costs you guys nothing. All I ask in return is for that like and subscribe. But there's other premium content creators out there who, you know, you get charged, but they give you some premium information. Look, I've been an Illini fan much longer than I've had this show. And so back in the day, of course, I've been a member of these premium websites with these other insiders. And I will tell you that these premium insiders, they have just as much information, it seems like, as I do. In the sense where this coaching staff now has really become very tight-lipped, working in the shadows. There's really no loose lips on this coaching staff anymore. And you can kind of guess why with the people who have departed as of late. So that's why I tell you, I'm not panicking yet. You know, I do think there's a lot of back channeling going around. There's a lot of whispers happening. I knew about the Stojakovic conversation. And if you were a part of my Discord, you were one of the first people to know, because I leaked that on April 5th or so. But just because I knew of that one does not mean I know of all of them. I'm sure there's other conversations that are happening. And that's why, because of the fact that we only really need to fill maybe 3 more spots on this team, and the team and the coaching staff can focus on filling out those 3, I'm not worried yet. I know some of you are getting paranoid about the whole money situation. Listen, Illinois may not be number 2 in the Big Ten when it comes to NIL anymore, but I feel very confident in saying they're top 5. And that's not a bad place to be. The funds are there. They're just being careful on how they spend. If they could have gone back and paid Josh Dix $2 million, would they have? Yeah. But the thing is, I don't think they could have won that commitment. It really looks like with Josh hadn't committed to Creighton, and for the familial reasons that he committed there, that was one recruitment that they really couldn't win. Sellers, okay, but Sellers wanted to be the focal point. Maybe Illinois had an idea that they'd go after a guy like Stojakovic, who plays the same exact position, and they view Stojakovic as a superior player. What other players are out there? I don't know, but you can choose to believe me or not. I'm just saying I'm very comfortable saying that the funds are there. It's all about finding the right pieces to spend it on. Whether they do or not, that's up for debate, and that's something we'll be debating, I'm sure, all summer long. But again, my panic level right now is at a 4 out of 10. Let me know your panic level. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game live. Getting tickets should be stressful. That's where Game Time comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute deals at unbeatable prices. Game Time Picks. Curation makes it easier to find better values for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc., etc. And you have a little peace of mind. When you do buy your tickets, you can have the seat views before you buy. No surprise fees and lowest price guarantee you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. And that's going to wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. Make sure you're subscribed. I promise if there's any sort of breaking news, if we get a resolution to this whole Adam Miller thing or Andrej Stojakovic or whoever mystery wing B or C or D might end up being, I promise I'll try to come on live immediately after. We'll have a rapid reaction, which I think is a big hit with you guys. I constantly get messages about when any sort of news happens. Hey, are you going to come online? As soon as the Victor Singleton information happened on Saturday night, got a bunch of DMs saying, hey, Sonny, you're going to be able to come online. And I couldn't because I was already out of the house by then. But, I appreciate that. And I want you guys to continue to expect that out of me. Again, if you're not in the Discord already, we've had a fantastic conversation all weekend long. Not only did we talk about Illini sports, but we got to discuss, WrestleMania and the NBA playoffs, all that fun stuff. So if you're not in that Illini Discord, so we have like 250 people already. Illini fans spread all across the country, all talking Illini sports. Again, thanks for staying locked on right here on Locked On Illini. I promise I'll have more content for you all week long. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.